นะคะตอนนี้เราจะขยับเข้าไปสู่อีกหนึ่งหัวข้อค่ะซึ่งท่านวิทยากรของเราพร้อมแล้วเช่นเดียวกันนะคะขอเสียงปรบมือต้อนรับดร. ปราโมท หอเจริญนะคะ He is the founder of Nervamed here. Please give a warm welcome to Dr. ปราโมท หอเจริญขอเสียงปรบมือต้อนรับท่านด้วยค่ะ
นี่เช็คแล้วได้โอเคสวัสดีครับ well thank you thank you for the warm welcome and thank you very much T-Cells for your invitation I'll have the slide to introduce myself okay yes there you go and I know that I'm the last person to stand between you and the lunch so we'll get into that right now so the topic today that I'm assigned to speak today is probably not about what I'm doing, but I'll share with you very quickly what I'm doing so you know who this guy is. But today I want to share my opinions about is Thai medtech or medical innovations ready for the global healthcare market? And again, this is only my opinions. Okay, first of all, like I said, who is this guy that stand on the stage? My name is Pramote Hochareon. I'm Thai, of course. I graduated from Sirat Hospital as the medical doctor in 1996. I didn't practice at all, actually. I went into my research training in biomedical engineering. I'm proud to be very early people of Thailand to actually study in this field. And then I did the tissue engineer aortic heart valve at University of Minnesota. That's where I live right now, but I'm not with the university. I actually joined the industry a couple years later at Boston Scientific. I was working in the algorithm management, or in other words, if you know about pacemaker, that's what I was doing. And that's why I'm invited today. That's what I want to share with you guys today, is the last one, which is that in 2010, actually at the end of 2009, I left the company and then started my own, Nerva Medical. We are working on the heart cooling technology. It's actually pretty cool. But as this is not just a cool project. It has to make impact. And not most important, but very important, is that it has to make money. And that's what I'm going to be talking a lot today. That means that what we are serving, the patient population that we are serving, is also equate to about $1 billion US dollars market size. All right, so now we're going to get into, the topic that I said that is Thai medtech ready, but I want to say too that can Thai medtech be ready for a global market? These are the three points that I'm going to talk about, and I pretty much my unhidden agenda to you guys. That I want to say that, a lot of time when people hear about medtech, even in the United States, even in Minnesota, we think when people talk about startup, what do we think? We think about technology, we think about internet, we think about applications, right? Anything about medical seems to scare people. But what I want to tell you guys today is that that's not that difficult. But then we probably should discuss too. So why, if it's not that difficult, why we haven't done much here? And the second block that I said there is that it's actually some advantage of medical innovations over other industry or other type of innovation that most people, even in the United States, actually overlook. And then, as from Thai perspective, should we go global directly, or the old belief or that should we just try to master here first, be domestic successful before we can go global, all right? So those are the three things that I want to share with you guys today. Okay, actually this is some exercise here, but I want to start with example. First, so can I raise very quickly, we don't have a lot of people here. Do anybody know about the prostate enlarge? Anybody know? Can you raise your hands? Okay. This is something that's very common for guys. When we turn 60, I'm not yet, but I will be in hopefully a while from now. our prostate would get bigger like that picture, right? So, and that make it very difficult to urinate or pee. So the treatment today, what do we do? Not to, bore you with the medical term, all we do is cut. We put a big metal like that into your penis and put that and then scrap, really this is what happened, and scrap off the tissue through that urethra. So it's very painful, okay? So this is example. I want you guys to think. Okay, if you are an innovator, what are you going to do? How are you going to make it? What do you want to do here? Think in your mind right now because you're going to be doing some things. What's the next question that you want to ask? So the next question should be, what's the complication? Is this treatment very successful? So, well, these are the list of the treatment, the complications, bleeding, difficult, painful to, urinate, infections, and also sexual dysfunction. It's still important. So this is actually my father. At that time, he was late 70, and I didn't think much when he went on to have the prostate procedure because he has enlarged prostate. But turned out was that the picture on the bottom, that what the blood that come out after his operations for days, not just one day. It's actually more like a week. So as a result, he actually had kidney failure, something that's supposed to be a small procedure. He ended up with a kidney failure, has a systemic infection. That means that they found bacteria in his bloodstream. He has to be in hospital for a month. So this is what happened. Okay, so now this is what I want you guys to do. Hopefully I can do in time. I know that I start to get delayed right now. So you guys have iPhone, have phone, right? Can you follow the link? Can you please do it? Because otherwise it's not going to be fun. Can you see the link there? Can you type into that? That is a form. And then it's only 2 questions right there. And I'm going to see the real-time result right here. I hope my internet works. Okay, it works. Anybody submitted yet? So the question are, what are you going to do to innovate? That means that to solve this problem. But the first choice is, are you going to redesign the current technology, or are you going to invent the new technology to treat prostate, a large prostate? Okay, I got 1 response so far. All right, looks like we got maybe more than 1. Well, hopefully it wouldn't take too much time, but I don't know, like the internet seems slow, I guess, because I saw you guys are doing it, but it doesn't really show the result here. Well, maybe I apologize if the result is going to take too much time. I probably have to get going. Keep doing it. Unfortunately, I probably should get going because otherwise we will not be able to finish this in time. Could you switch back to the presentation, please? And we'll touch on this later. I still have my computer on so I can see the result, and we can touch back later. Yes, please go back to the presentation. Go back to the presentation. All right. So, well, actually the next one I'm going to show the result. We'll come back later, okay? So anyway, so maybe you can raise your hand because I'm still waiting for the result, which is very slow. I'm sorry. Okay, so what do you think? Can you raise your hand for the first question? Who chose the first one? Redesign the current technology. Could you raise? I really can't see well, but can you raise your hand if you do that? Or I don't see anyone. So we think that we would invent a new technology. Okay, but the one that's more interesting is the bottom questions. Oh my good. Okay, well, we should. In my computer, it actually shows very favorable result that everyone want a better treatment. Okay, so let's see what other people is doing. So these are the two companies in this field that I raised this. So one is NeoTrax, another one is Nextera. Remember I said that the current treatment is just to cut the tissue. Both of them don't do that. One is actually to put a bunch of wires to actually pull out the urethra or the pathway for the urine to come out. And another one is to put the steam. It's hard to see from there, but it's if you believe me, it's kind of like a side hole into the tissue. So it doesn't cut anything. It just poke a very small holes and then put the steam around it. And then you do it multiple times. And what happened is that the tissue start dying. And weeks after that, the prostate shrink. And you don't have something that what my father has gone through. Let's see what happened in the business side. Like I said, money is important. So both of them have patents. So that's why they have barrier. No one can actually copy and do it, right? But then look at the numbers. The first company, NeoTrack, was acquired by Teleflex for $1 billion. The second company, Nextera, was acquired by Boston Scientific for $400 million. So you can see this is the economic impact of innovations. So, but let's be clear, let's be the same page. Because as in the last couple of years I've been back to Thailand, what I have seen is that there's a confusion between innovation that we actually produce something, new technology, or the reverse engineer. So the reverse engineer is easily understood. That is that we don't have patent. We just copy other people, what other people do. Is you're going to be competing in a very high competitive market. It's going to have low market share, and it's a manufacturing-based job, which may not necessarily high income. So we have to understand, we have to distinguish this because the pathway after this is going to be very different. So, and this is very quickly to show that why should we focus on the innovation? Because it's going to actually give a bigger impact, both in terms of the patient outcome and also the economic outcome, which is the reason for the policy of Thailand 4.0. So you can see that the median return of investment is like $200 million, so it's a very huge number. So the quick question here is that it's a very different question. If you ask how do we bring innovation to the global market, the first thing we have to ask our question first is that, is this the innovation or is it reverse engineering product? Because if it's the first one, this is a reverse engineering product. The only thing you can compete with them is marketing or sales, like pricing or something. That's going to be very difficult to compete with big companies like Medtronic, Boston Scientific, Teleflex, and so on. But if we actually have the innovation, then we compete with the merit or the better outcome for the patient. And we have patent protection. And we're not talking about Thai patent, we're talking about US patent. So that's what we can actually ask for a better price and also a better position in the market. So that, like I said, the real question is not how to get to, actually I spoke the same topic last year here. The question is not about how to go to the global market, because if you have innovation, it will go by itself. The question is, do we have innovations? So, and what makes innovations? Number one is that, I'm going to go very quickly on here. Number one is that you have to identify the unmet clinical need. What is the patient pain that still hasn't been solved? And then your solution obviously have to address that point. But then the third one is the one that I really don't hear much people here talk about, which is, what is the market size, right? If every time you pitch something, the first thing you want to hear is how big is the market. And then what about your competitions? Are you better than your competitors? And the last one, do you have patents? I say that many times. So then the next point that I want to say that, should we go global directly or should we just stay domestic first and then go later? What I want to say is that go, because this is what I said, that this advantage of the medical innovations over other type of innovation. if you do apps, if you do fintechs, it's very much related to how people live, like their behavior and everything else. But if you do, like my device is about heart attack. The device that I show you is about prostate. Is there anything different between, Caucasian or white people prostate, or people like prostate in America or prostate in Thailand or in China, in Africa? Heart attack in China, heart attack in Thailand, heart attack in India, then no difference. I mean, there may be some small. So that's why this is the benefit of what we do here. It's actually make it easier because it's global by nature, okay? And also, when you do the market analysis, it's also easy. You don't have to think, oh, maybe people like to use it, people don't like to use it. It takes me literally 10 minutes to do my market analysis of my product because I just go to American Heart Association and look at how many people have heart attack. There's no debate that you don't have heart attack. If you have it, right? So, and many things around here. So what I say is that there's a lot of advantage that people don't recognize about medical innovation, and even being here in Thailand, we can go directly to global. Why should we stop here? And this is then, global is a big term. Where is it to start? Because you cannot just blast it over all the world, right? So, and this is what I want to say here. I summarize it like different geography in the world. The first one that people look at right now is Europe. But Europe is a regulatory entry, meaning that it's more about to get the regulatory approval, or in other words, what we call CE mark. But Europe is very difficult to actually get in terms of be successful in terms of making money because it's very fragmented. Different countries have different their payment system, blah, blah, blah. So the US is actually normally is the entry point because it's the biggest market, and also because the US, the whole country is 300 million people. They have somewhat very the same in the way for this discussion, healthcare system. So that means that you don't have to figure out what it's like in Minnesota, what's it like in Boston or in Massachusetts or California or whatever, right? But in Europe, you have to figure out what it's like in Ireland, in England, in Netherlands, which is so small, but you still have to do the work. And forget about Japan. And when I say Asia is China, because even though Japan has been the very big important medical device market, but you know what? They are not the early adopter. So the other factor about the market entry is also not how advanced they are, their culture. The US and the Europe has the benefit that people there, the doctor there tend to be more liberal. They want to try new things, but not like in Asia. So this is something you have to think about. So and this is just to show that you see that the first bar is actually the US. The number is huge compared to the second one. So this is why what I try to convince you is that you should think about global if you want to innovate. Number two, when I said global, it's actually the US. And not because I come from the US, it's just the data shows that. And I have investors from Singapore. If you think about we always want to do, oh yeah, let's do Thai thing first. Thai make it, Thai use it, and Thai, growing, Thai tham, Thai chai, Thai jalern, right? Well, if you say the same thing to Singapore, you think they can do it? The whole population is 5 to 6 million? That's a healthy population. What about the people who have heart attack? It's so small. Even Thailand is so small. So you can't really sustain that. So, okay. All right. So what I think good thing about Thailand? Well, we're definitely very good in medical services, right? So that means that, we have many smart doctors who, come from all over the world in terms of education. So we definitely can do early innovations. It's not that difficult. But what we're not good at is that we are small, in terms of market size, So we're not necessarily be a good place to actually be the market entry point. So this is the model, and then you can say that, okay, well, how do we start? I mean, how do I do it? Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time. So this is the model that very standard. This is not new. I showed this slide a couple years now. So the product development, this is very common here is that, you start with, you do a product development and do clinical study, and then you obtain the approval, which doesn't mean that you have to be you are Thai, doesn't mean that you can't go and obtain the approval in the US or in Europe, right? And then you get acquisition, and also again, same thing. you are the Thai company doesn't mean that you cannot be bought by Medtronic, which is in Minnesota. They go buy everywhere they want, as long as you have a good idea. So, and then once when you are acquired, so the good news is that you don't have to do the rest of the work. I heard all the time that people complain that, oh, Thai doctor don't use Thai products. Well, maybe you don't have to be Thai products. Like my product is Novamed. But when it gets to Sirat, when it comes to Lama, when it comes to wherever in the world, it will not be my name anymore. It will be Medtronic, it will be like Abbott, it will be Boston Scientific. So then, what's the point here? The point here is that in this model, you are competing with innovation. You're not competing with the brand, with marketing strategy, with sales. You don't have to worry about that. We as a scientist, we as an engineer can only worry about innovations and leave the things about like, the market and those things, which is very complex, not easy, but no one is going to be good at everything, right? So, and also the other thing I want to say here too is that the money. A lot of times we said that, well, it takes $50 million to build the company to the exit point. Where do we find money? You don't have to worry about that either. I mean, we have our visitor from Boston that shared with us this morning, which I was very delighted to hear. And you can see that if you have good idea, money will come from anywhere. So that means that even if it's a Thai company, we can raise money in the United States. I'm a Minnesota company. I raise money from Singapore, from London too. Today is no border anymore. Okay, all right, we don't have time. We have to go over this. Sorry. So then the question that you said, well, how are we going to do that? I know that I have some privilege that I was in Minnesota, so I have a lot of people to help me. Well, I would say that be patient. There will be more help, like the first speaker today, there will be more assistance. But what I want you to think about today, this is why I think that why I'm talking today is that, so what's next? Number one is that if you haven't thought much about innovation yet, or if you think about innovation already, so I would encourage you to look at unmet clinical need, rather than looking at what the current technologies look like. Think about the need, not thinking about the tool. We're not improving the tool. That's what the totally wrong concept of people who think they're doing innovation. We're solving problem for our customer. In our case, it's patients, right? And then the next thing is that you have to take the risk. Well, this is not new, but prepare to fail. I'm not saying that chance of failure is high. It actually will come. But actually, the third one is the one that I really like everyone to do, which is to be resourceful. When you're an entrepreneur, things are not going to land on its way to you, and then you just put your hand out and things going to fall from the sky for you. You have to walk. You have to work to get it. Even advice. So reach out to beyond your circle. Today, internet is so important. Well, I know I have some privilege. I'm in United States, but you know what? Like, I have one advisor. He's a great advisor, and he's been advising me for years. We still haven't met. He lives in California. And even when I go to California, he's too busy. We never actually have time to meet each other. But if I need advice, phone call, emails. So go beyond your circle, and you will be surprised. And one thing that is a big reward for me, being an entrepreneur, is that I can't believe that people are willing to help. People really want to help, and they help not asking for anything in return. And I live in United States, where a lot of people think that, oh yeah, like people there is only do it for money. I can tell you that's not what my experience is about. You will see that if you reach out to people, they want to help you. And then, aim for the high impact innovations, and those are the list that I'm talking about. But at the same time, if you actually are doing reverse engineer, I'm not denouncing it. I'm not saying that it's not a good thing. It's still a valid path to do, but it needs more disciplines. You need to think very hard about the market, Like if you're going to open the restaurant or department store, the same thing. You have to look at whether or not your customer will come. Don't do it and think the customer would come. And that's what I think that why I hear a lot of complaint, that people are saying that, oh, we built this already, why the doctor doesn't use it? Well, let me put it this way, it's going to be very hard to hear. That is not their business to support your business. If you build something, that's your child, that's your children. It's your responsibility to bring it up. You can't blame other people for not helping you raise your child. So do your homework first before you do it. I'm not saying reverse engineer is not a good thing. It is a good thing, but not everything is a good thing. And it's still high risk. It's not anything less risk than innovations. And it's also not fast. I think that was the last slide that I have. So in my closing note, the only thing I can say is that courage and courage and courage. To do innovation is not about knowledge. It's not about that we are so smart. I can tell you intelligence pay very little in this. But you have to be passionate. You have to really love your customer. We do it like what Brittany said in early morning. Early morning today. That we do it for our customer. We're passionate about our customer, and that's how you build courage. And if Thailand really want to do this is why we have huge event like this. We definitely use a lot of money, from our taxes. The question is not that. It's not about education. The question is whether or not we have enough courage and whether or not this is actually truly what we want to do. Not really to make Thailand famous. And I know that even the Thailand 4.0 policy is definitely economic policy to make, to improve the income. But at the end, in the micro level, in your level, as an entrepreneur, you shouldn't do it to help the government agency, the government policy or agenda. You do it for you. You do it because you are passionate about what you're trying to solve the problem for your customer. And I think that was the last thing. My email is that. The slide deck is this link if you like it. So please feel free to reach out to me anytime. I definitely love to help. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I used my time.
ขอเสียงปรบมือดังๆอีกหนึ่งครั้งนะคะขอบคุณมากๆนะคะสำหรับดรประโมท หอเจริญนะคะขอบคุณค่ะ Well, that's the founder of Naramet here. I think everyone is very impressed with his presentation.